Hey everyone, welcome to my monthly report for the Edmonton real estate market, and I hope you enjoy these series of videos. They will come out every single month showing you these stats. I like to keep people informed. You can watch the market, you can subscribe to my videos every single month, and I think you'll find these very informative. So let's dive right in. You'll notice that I've got some stats up here. Let me make some sense of it for you so you understand what is going on in the Edmonton area. We're looking at the detached market section of the market. I'll get into condos in a minute. And you'll notice that things have really dramatically changed in Edmonton. We had a 74.46% absorption rate in the month of February. That means that almost 75% of all the detached houses that were listed have sold, which is remarkable. I don't think really any of us saw this coming. If you go back a year ago, we were at 30%. I mean, only 30% of the houses were selling. Now we're at 75%. And what has really taken place here is the inventory levels have dropped and the demand has increased. And it's a pretty simple formula. Once supply diminishes and demand is stronger, it means that prices start to rise. And you can see right here that our average price in Edmonton now is at $501,425. That is up 12.21% year over year. But what's absolutely incredible is that the biggest gains came just in the last month. Like we saw 11% increase in pricing. It's like all of a sudden there's this mad rush for buying real estate in Edmonton, and it's really come out of nowhere, and it's probably caught a lot of people by surprise. Just to go back in time here to give you a little history, you can see our average price trend, and you can see that that the Edmonton market really peaked back in 2017 at a price of $449. So now we've really surpassed the highest market that we've had. So to be at $501,000, it's now the most expensive it's ever been in Edmonton to buy a home. Here are the hard numbers. There was 1,343 listings at the end of February and 1,000 properties sold for the month. So you can see that is a dramatic turnaround. When you go back to a year ago, we had 2,184 listings and only 651 sold. So, we've almost doubled the sales and diminished our listing inventory by, looking at somewhere around 60%. So this is why we're seeing such price increases. Our average days on market is 41 days, but keep in mind when a property goes conditionally sold, they only market as days on market after the conditions have been waived. So if a house sells in 2 days with 14-day condition, it's showing that, that's 16 days on the market when really it's only 2 days. And I can tell you right now, there's properties selling in Edmonton in 1, 2, and 3 days, and many of them with more than one offer on them. Let's just take a look at the market distribution so you can see, where the different price points are for Edmonton. You can see that $200,000 to $300,000 is becoming extinct. Now, our market of $300,000 to $400,000 is taking second place. And what's interesting about this, it was only a year ago where $300,000 to $400,000 was actually the biggest area of the market, whereas now it's moved to $400,000 to $500,000. That's now the dominant part of the market. And I can tell you, 500 to 600 is starting to creep up. And if this market keeps going the way I think it's going to go, you're going to see 500 to 600 taking place as the dominant part of the market. That's becoming the sweet spot. But you can see most of the real estate is sold between $300,000 and $600,000. That's where the majority of the buyers are. So obviously, if you have a property you want to sell in this particular price range, you can have some great success right now. And I just want to comment on that because there's some strategies. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and I've been through the 2006 markets. I've been through the peak of 2014, 2015 markets, and I learned a thing or two along the way. There is some strategies you can use in a multiple offer situation. If you're selling, you, the seller, have some options. You can actually run an auction if you want. You can do a public auction, or you can do a silent auction. There's pros and cons to both, and there's strategies within both of them. A lot of real estate agents don't even understand the options that are available, and typically what happens is, you know, they just put out the offers and they just pick the highest one. I'm not saying that that isn't something to consider in some situations, but what I'm saying is that it doesn't just have to look that way. There's actually ways of actually getting an even higher price if you know how to do it. So if you want to learn more about that because you're considering selling, just reach out to me. I'll share some of those strategies with you. Also, if you're buying in a market like this, you're probably thinking, well, how do I get in with these multiple offers? You know, that's kind of stressful. There's some strategies there too. We've had some great success writing letters to sellers, putting even a video on your family, and then also inviting the listing agent to giving us a counter offer, even if we're not the highest offer. Wouldn't it be helpful if you were a buyer and the seller just came back and said, hey, we did get a better offer than yours, but we're willing to accept, you know, this price if you're willing to come up to it. Now, that might not be a price that you're willing to come up to, but wouldn't it be nice if you at least got the opportunity? There's some strategies that I use in order for that to happen that you can talk to me about. Now, let's take a look at the condo market. This is a very different market because in Edmonton, it's generally not people's first choice to buy a condo. And then this could be an apartment condo, could be a townhouse condo. Just because Edmonton is a more of what we would consider an affordable city when you compare most of the big markets in Canada, people gravitate towards single-family dwellings or attached properties without condo fees. That being said, there's still a pretty healthy market for Edmonton, but it just drops to a 23.25% absorption rate. And the good news is that this is getting better, and it will continue to get better because, you know, when the tide comes in, all the boats get lifted, and condos are being lifted here too. When you go back a year ago, we only had a 12.56% absorption rate. So to think that almost 24% of the properties that are condos are selling, believe it or not, that's not a bad market. You'll notice that it's considered a buyer's market, but really it's pretty close to a balanced market, so it's not bad. Our average price of $220,066, well, that's up 3.21% from a year ago, so that's good news because it's been a pretty choppy market, as you can see in the last year. Some months it was up, some months it was down, and you can also see if you go back in time, you know, the market really has been a soft market all the way since 2014. So to see that the prices are finally on the rise, it's really good news because the condo market definitely was hit harder than the detached market over the last several years. If we go into the hard numbers, 428 properties out of 1841. So that's so much better than a year ago where we had 271 and we had 2,157 listings. Now we've got 1841 and 428 sales. This is all good news if you own a condo, especially if you're thinking of maybe selling it and you want to maybe get into something a little bit different than you're currently in. 60 days on the market on average, so it's not taking too long to sell a condo, and quite frankly, if you're priced reasonable and you're marketed properly, you should have no problem selling the property if you have some good strategies that go with that. Here's our market distribution. And you can see it just drops off a cliff. Clearly, the biggest market for condos in Edmonton is under $200,000. And it just makes logical sense because that's a market that a lot of people who buy condos want to be in. They want to get into the market. It's affordable. And of course, even for people who are downsizing, you know, you can maybe sell your house for, say, $500,000, maybe move into a condo, pocket some money, and have a more comfortable retirement. So that's going to be our biggest market. There's still a pretty healthy market though. 34, almost 35% of the market is under $300,000. And then of course 300 to 400,000 is 11% of the market. And then after 400, it just drops right off a cliff, because if you have 400,000 or more to spend, you know, the clearly most likely you're going to spend it in the detached section of the market. So there's your market update for February 2022. I hope this video was helpful, and please, you know, reach out to me with any questions whatsoever. I don't really get attached to people's timelines. I don't charge for my time for giving people advice. I think a lot of times when people look at these videos, they're curious, they have questions, and I'm more than willing to answer those for you. See you all next month.